Hey folks, Mike here today with a second video here on Satisfactory. This video is going to be just gameplay, me talking about kind of my end game-ish factory, going over some of the designs and stuff that I've done. For context, if you watched the previous video I've done, just kind of more of a review, this is a good 30 solid, 40 solid hours of extra gameplay. And yeah, I think we'll start by going up here. So for context, this is January 2nd, 2021. So update 4 isn't out yet. They've kind of talked about it for the last month or so. That's the next big update that's coming out in February, March. At least that's what they're saying. So we'll see about that. And yeah, I think that's about all I can think of right now. And I don't believe I have anything else to mention. But basically at this point, I wanted to reach some sort of end game thing to be able to get some points and be ready for the next major update. That's more or less what I wanted to do. I wanted to stockpile some advanced tech if I could, and well, per some of the videos that Coffee Stain has put out recently, they kind of suggest you to potentially do that if you are at that end game stage. We'll talk about those guys later on, I think. So just kind of doing my runs here because I did just load up the game to do this video. So I'm making sure I get some power shards out from some of those slugs that they handed over. Gonna go ahead and store the good stuff and process/trash the rest. So I will give you guys a quick overview of the base. We're going to take a look up there and see what's up with all of that stuff up there. Spoiler alert, it's basically the holiday event they've had going on. Hence why there's, wreaths and these big gifts kind of everywhere, and why there's a giant tree up here with presents and stuff. So they have a holiday event that was going on. It's still going to be going on for another 2 weeks, and mid-January I think they've said. So it has its own research tree, which for all sorts of different things. Most of this stuff is all gated to certain days. They have kind of a advent calendar on the main base thing. Let's see. Yeah. Your hub building, may as well show it off. The HUD building here has a nice little advent calendar. 25 days. I've got them all. So a couple of the days are predefined. Some of the items are also predefined. Some of the items are for the upcoming next year. So they've given off some of those items that have already been implemented in the game as kind of a teaser of what's coming up soon. But yeah, other than that, the big present that you saw on the ground there, actually there's one falling over here somewhere too. Oh, there it goes, a couple over there. Yeah, just to kind of go through that holiday event specifically, you start off by collecting some of those, and then you can build various things. They all have different costs. Eventually you unlock the ability to get the higher tier items, which allow you to build these trees, which produce the presents for you, and then you can automate all the production into whatever that's called. Tree branches, of course. I thought it was called something else. Oh no, there's a different one. Anyways, candy canes, bows, snowballs. You have whatever you want to call them. There's going to be hitching like that when it saves. That's kind of normal. It gets worse and worse as you have more. Well, worse and worse. It gets a bit longer as you have more and more stuff. yeah, you get some higher end ornaments with a bunch of buildings and stuff. Anyways, the reason I'm just going over this is because, you know, it does stand out. You'll probably see it several times as I walk around. So yeah, that's kind of what got me into the game, right? They're doing a holiday event. So I figured, well, I kind of had an end game map already, except, well, I completely rebuilt it. Of course, in the previous video, you had seen most of this, but this didn't exist in my previous video yet, which we'll go over later on as well. So yeah, in doing the holiday event, I basically tore down everything I made and optimized my base quite a bit, and now I'm pretty happy with where I'm at, right? I've got a nice setup ready for that big update in a couple months from now. So yeah, I guess that's going to be this part of the video. We're going to go over kind of my thoughts. For context's sake, this is my third major like save file, I suppose. I've put in 200 some hours in this game already. I really enjoy it. You know, this is my kind of game. I like the logic and the organization and all of that. So I think this has been the best implementation slash idea. I've always had the idea here of stockpiling, you know, one of each resource. So if I want to build anything, let's say I want to build another nuclear plant. Well, I already have almost everything in my inventory, but I need a supercomputer. So these are, except for the rubber and plastic here, which is kind of an afterthought, this is all kind of ordered by tier, so I know the supercomputers are near the back here. And, oh, there they are. So there you go, I can just walk up, pick up what I need, and then, you know, good to go. So that's the idea of this. I don't really care about production speed as much, or efficiency. All I care about is being able to have a reasonable amount of everything just ready to pull off the shelf whenever I need it. Now, if that said, what's nice about this setup as well is, you know, I do have a decent amount of buffer, but also it's not running all the time, right? Especially the cheaper stuff, it's all backed up. All the buildings are just waiting. They're not working or anything. So if I swipe like a whole pile of these plates, I still have a buffer in those buildings. So realistically, I could get away and not have the storage bins. However, there are certain buildings, or I might go in and say, hey, and this has happened before. I need like 20 of these refineries, right? Over there you'll see there's like 20 of them lined up. Well, now I have all the resources I need. I can get all those steel pipes in one go. You know, 480 steel pipes. Well, look, I've got 2,400, so I've got enough stockpiled. I'm good. So anyways, the reason I like this setup especially is, you know, all the containers are nicely lined up. I could have double stacked them like this, and it would be a bit shorter to walk, but I could take a vehicle. And more importantly is I have all the resources, the processed resources, on a belt here. And what I mean by processed, I mean, except for the raw crystal, the raw quartz crystals. Ooh, having a hard time pronouncing. I've got all the ores traveling on these belts. Oh, also, well, sulfur doesn't really have a processed state, I suppose. Anyways, I am actually missing a couple items, but I'm missing like consumables for myself. I was gonna build those kind of off to the side, kind of like here, maybe back here somewhere, a little bit like this arrangement, just to have them separate from like actual building materials. So anyways, so yeah, I've tried a couple ideas before. You know, one of the ideas I had on a previous save, and it kind of got a little bit out of hand, was to actually have like the first stage of processed material traveling on the belt. There's just a little bit too much, right? So let's say these iron bars, the iron ingots. Well, if I build a constructor here real quick, the raw iron ingots, I'll be using screws, rods, and plates, and the problem here is that I've suddenly got 3 belts instead of 1. On the other hand, I would be getting all the stuff I need, but then you start getting into complex stuff like screws. It doesn't take very long for one of those big belts to be fully loaded in screws, and it's a bit of a messy thing. I did try and do it, and it actually did work pretty well, but like I said, it kind of got out of hand pretty quickly. So, not quite convinced yet. Maybe with higher level belts in the future I could do it, because I can then combine multiple and then use programmable splitters. So I can have one of each of the 3 resources, right? And because I'm carrying enough, it's not too bad. But either way, this works. It just means that, like, hey, if I need screws, well, I got screws here, I've got another one there, another one there, another one there, and so on. So I've got a lot of copies of the same stuff. So maybe in the future I'll have a better idea, but anyway, so you can kind of get an idea here. As we move further down the line, we get into more and more complex builds. So for instance, this seems like a relatively simple build, right? We need plates and screws. So I've got a split setup here because I'm building excess rods. So I'm reusing some in this other building, which is combining a set of plates with rods. So, you know, I've got like the same setup here twice, except I'm using some of the overflow into another stage. So some of these things start getting pretty deep in terms of multiple stages of what they require. It is what it is. We start getting into assemblers here with multiple components. And I think the thing worth mentioning here at this point too is I built this as simple as possible. So you can see everything's backed up and we're missing modular frames, and I think I'm only making 2 a minute. Yeah, 2 per minute. So those slugs I got earlier turn into power shards, and I can say, well, yeah, let's bump this to 5 per minute. I could do that. I probably can get the required incoming, but fundamentally, by the time I need more of these, I've got enough stock that by the time I need more, the stock is already replenished from what I've taken last time, so it's not a huge problem. So yeah, that's why I like this setup. This is kind of my end game setup. I'm pretty happy with it. You know, we're getting into fairly complex stuff here, where, you know, multiple assemblers are feeding a final assembler to build like supercomputers, for instance. Again, the computers are lagging a little bit. It is what it is. I could always borrow the normal computer line, I suppose, when the normal computer line maxes out. By having everything, you know, 90 degrees apart like that, as you move further and further down in terms of storage, I can also move out in terms of how many of these buildings. Or I can keep moving up this way. What's going to stop me from going too far is like physically colliding with that mountain there. So if we make our way to the back here, this is the last thing, the turbo motors, which I'm actually, this turbo motor in particular, I'm actually trying to produce these at full speed. However, you'll see there's a bit of a hang up, so it's organization, no, yes. Come on. A little bit of a hitch here while we save. Alright, so yeah, you can see, so this assembler, because of the speed as well, you can see a lot of buildings stacked. These are all building the same thing. I needed that because I need to produce at a certain speed to feed this building. Now everything's backed up because we're literally waiting on one part. And this one part is waiting because we're not feeding it enough rubber. Oh, actually we are feeding enough rubber now. No, we're not feeding it enough aluminum. Sorry, enough heat sinks. So that's kind of what I actually want to correct. That's the part that I'm currently stuck at, which is, oh, no, rubber. Rubber is actually a problem here. Well, they're both related issues. The aluminum is a problem for this special line over there, and the rubber is a problem for here, which, yeah, we'll get into that, I suppose. I'll reference this later. I'll reference these little production lines later, just so you know. Yeah, I like this setup. It works pretty well. You know, you just build your spans, plop the conveyor splitter. The only downside is when you plop a splitter directly on an existing line, they don't really snap. So everything else on the ground, like, you can snap and have nice angles, but this doesn't snap. The other downside too is if I upgrade these belts up here, the piece that I built the conveyor on, there's going to be a piece in the center that does not get upgraded. So you have to upgrade the line and then remove the splitter, upgrade that piece, rebuild the splitter, and you'll probably have to rebuild the lift. It's not the end of the world, but you know, do keep that in mind. However, if you're building on the ground like this, so you put a splitter and then you feed it individual lines, then it's not a problem. There's no piece in the middle that'll slow down feed rates. Yeah. A lot of power requirements. It's kind of ridiculous. 2 pumps for each of these. And then I only have like, well, actually I had 3 pumps feeding water for everything else I need, but now I have 5 pumps. So 4 pumps, 2 for each plant, and then I have a recently added secondary water line here to help with some of this bauxite refining, which is aluminum. So this is something that actually is changing in the upcoming major update, which I'm not going to go into it too much. Because again, if you own the game, then you know, you probably want to check it out, but if you don't own the game, then you probably don't care that much about the potential upcoming changes. Okay. Well, in theory, yeah, as I say, in theory, that's going to max out my belts. Which means, in theory, I'm being held up. Yeah, I'm going to correct this real quick. So, one of the problems I'm kind of running into is I need to feed 600 per minute, and I've got 2 of these buildings. Well, the problem is the actual belts that I'm using. It's the highest level belt available at 780 per minute. So technically both of these buildings require their own belts. For now. It's still going to be capped. I can actually work around that. Let's see. How can I fix this? Oh, I do have the middle bar available there. All of this has to be torn out, but I'm not too worried about it. My aluminum processing is problematic. But since I'm kind of at the end game already, and I don't really have anything else to do until the next... I mean, I could optimize, right? But I got a big backlog of Steam games. Anyone who's watched my videos for the past however many years I've been doing videos, even though most of them are now gone from the channel, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Yeah, I've got a lot of games. Got a lot of games to play. So as much as I love playing this game, I've been spending a lot of time playing other stuff too. Alright. Oh, is this gonna... Ooh, that works. Okay. And then what I'm doing here is going here. 2 clicks, 2 clicks. Wait. That's not right. In fact, I built that with a lot of room. You'll see in a second too, I have other things limiting me, so kind of want to go through this because this is kind of what this game's about. A lot of problem solving, a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of math necessarily, but a lot of like, you gotta sit there and think of the numbers and make sure your numbers work and make sense. So alright, so the alumina solution, if you want to produce, we need 360 and we have 2 buildings, that means we need 720, which if we look here, we're producing 2 per minute, and we have a 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 versus 360. That's a big difference. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out. So the other problem too is we're actually limited. This pipeline can only carry 600 per minute, so at least want to max that out if at all possible. So 160. Oh, sorry about that. 80. Whoops, wrong number. So we went from 36 160. Yeah, so 160. I'm just trying to make sure I don't go too crazy here. 320. Yeah, I think that's about as much as I can do. 560, yeah, we'll be above 600. So that's about as good as I'll be able to do that. Which means these buildings are going to be as full as they can. So I'd have to do the same thing here. I basically would have to split, which I could do that, I suppose. I could split into 2 belts of alumina, or 2 pipes of alumina. Because I need 360 per minute. So I could do 1. Actually, that would eliminate a whole building too, if I did that. Funny. Could I? So what I'm looking at here, which I think that's what I'll do actually. I'm just looking if I can build another pipe up here, which, yes, I will build another pipe up there. So, I don't know. I'm not getting sidetracked, because this is kind of what I was expecting to happen in this video, of just kind of, yeah, going over it, giving you an idea what typical Satisfactory video is like, despite having reached what I would consider end game status. There's still a lot of little minor tweaks and stuff that I'm doing. So I need one plastic and copper. 2 parts of this. Yeah, no, you know what? I'll just because I know the update, they've already announced that the next update is going to be changing a lot of this process. From what I understand, it sounds like they actually want to simplify the aluminum process. So one of the problems that you can run into in this game, especially when you're doing certain resources, oil is especially bad for that, and I think oil is one that they've said they're going to keep it as is, because it is part of the challenge, but they don't want aluminum to be like that. Basically, what happens is, because you're playing around with various liquids, one of the things that happens is come on. Okay. Because you're playing around with various liquids, one of the things that happens is you got to make sure that water leaves, right? You've got 2 liquid input, a solid input, and then you've got a liquid and solid output. Well, if you don't empty out the water, if for whatever reason the water in this building backs up, you're kind of screwed. Like, you are stuck in terms of production. So like, you gotta make sure you empty out both, and you can't just dump liquids anywhere. So that is a bit of a pain to deal with that. Hopefully that's not too high up. That's filling up. That's filling up. As you see it expand, that's telling you that the pipe's filling up. Now, there's not a lot of flow, right, because it's not moving like this. The in and out is flow, and then the expansion there is volume. Now, pumping might be a problem, pumping out of the building. However, if you remember from earlier, I needed 2 of these. So, pipes are the same way. These junctions don't snap, which is mildly annoying. So as soon as I put that second one in, yeah, there we go. Pipes are slowly filling up as we're hitting our numbers. So that means this building in particular should be full production soon. So 540, and this building can consume 600. Now, it can go higher. Oh yeah, that's fun. I'm out of these things. That was my last one. So I need 400 per minute. could I? 400 would be 2. That works out perfectly. Are these buildings plugged up? Oh, the bauxite input is going to be a problem soon. So I'm outputting 50, so this is a belt that can support 50, but I'm inputting 175. And what belt do I have here? I should have made more room. Mark II. I need to bump these to Mark III belts. Okay. So, at the very least, I've now, in theory, achieved 1 full speed production of aluminum. However, these outputs are a little slow. What's up with that? Oh, the alumina. That little 0.8. Yeah, the little 0.8 that's what's stopping me. Oh, well, that's fine. I've got pretty optimal production. So I'd have to do the same thing for another one. But, yeah, it is what it is. This is still like the older... how can I say this? Yeah, this is still production on like the older part of the map where I built this, and then after building it I realized that, oh yeah, if I have to tweak stuff like I'm doing here, that's a bit of a problem, ain't it? Turns out that, yeah, it's been a bit of a problem, but just I find it funny that this outer one is, I don't know, they're both delaying here and there. Yeah, and fluid's not a problem. Jeez. I chew through that so fast. Okay. So anyways, so yeah, we have the final products assembled here and stored, and then we have all the raw resources processed here. So bauxite is what I've been playing around with. The raw limestone, I'm trying to remember what it's called. We have some steel, which is iron and coal. We also have the same iron flipping both ways to make normal iron ingots, and then we have copper and cadmium. I think that's about it. Yeah, beyond that, we've got some uranium pellets for nuclear power, and these are artifacts of my old base, like this piping as well. I have a bunch of pipes for like oil, which is where rubber and plastics come in. I'll point out the performance, because I'm late game, performance has been generally okay. This is a Ryzen 5 3600 with a GTX 1080 Ti. Neither of them are necessarily maxed out when I start her, so performance is really more of a engine limitation, if you will. Alright, I'm just cleaning up the inventory real quick. So these little lizard dogs, you can find them in the wild. They like the berries. You drop one berry on the ground, as long as you don't sprint. Make sure you turn off your sprint. When you spot them, you get a little close, you walk up to them somewhat close, like, you know, building over there kind of thing, drop a berry. They'll come up and eat it. You give them a quick pet, and then they'll follow you. And they'll follow you until you happen to die, potentially. After that, they stop following you until you bribe them with berries again. The reason I'm saying that is that's why you keep them in cages, basically. Well, not a cage, but you know, you put them in a nice pen. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt to kind of get them to follow you back to base, but it is what it is. And they're really handy because the power slugs that they give you is what I use to build that, to overclock buildings. And, you know, I had 100 of them out of one. Shit, I had more than 100 at one point. And you find yourself going through them pretty quickly when you're trying to tweak stuff and take shortcuts with buildings and whatnot. It helps. Definitely helps. But ideally, you put in more buildings if you can. And so... yeah, I have to fix that. And so this entire mess was not in my previous video. All of this, everything you see, including that, the cluster over there, and the other cluster I talked about earlier, behind those nuclear plants, all of that, plus a couple more for the oil, that is way over yonder, is all used to feed one building. All of this to feed one building to produce one part at maximum speed, just to be immediately crushed for points. What did the points give you, you ask? Cosmetics. So, is this necessary? Oh, absolutely not. Definitely not necessary. However, I wanted to do it. That's kind of my, hey, I've kind of beaten the game for now until they add more tiers and whatnot, but I decided to go ahead and do this because I really wanted to. And it was kind of enjoyable going through the whole process. So the problem is I have one thing that is, in theory, capable to be produced at the right speed. However, I'm running out of heat sinks. And what are the heat sinks lacking? Well, might have guessed it. Aluminum! I'm lacking some of this aluminum. Though I did potentially just fix... oh yeah, I think I fixed my supply finally. Oh damn. Wait. Why are these things lacking? Oh, it's the rubber that's a problem. Shit. Okay, so it was aluminum for a while. Now it's rubber. Okay. And if I had to guess, this rubber is lacking because... what? Oh, I'm locked out in sludge and waste oil. Damn it. That's a frustrating thing. This is the frustrating part of dealing with oil production. So you gotta get rid of that oil somehow. Did I not? I thought I had tied it in. Okay. So I'm turning some of it into... oh wait. Oh right, I didn't need those buildings back then. So I'm turning some of it into fuel. And then I tied it up here. I didn't tie it up here. How strange. I could have sworn I had... I must have forgotten to finish this bit. Okay, so the theory, it's here that I was intending to bridge, I think. Because I could bridge it here. I could also merge the rubber production. Oh yeah, that's what it was. It's up here. I was gonna bridge it to these lines and build more here. Okay, that's what it was. Got it. I figured out my problem. Excellent. So, one of the cool things you can do when you look at the numbers is you could take this residue, and I'll show you some of the residue here. So this is more rubber production. Right, you've got 20 cubic meters of fluid per minute output, and this is taking 60 per minute, turning it into fuel. So you can do the math and say, oh, okay, I only need these 5 to cover, you know, these buildings and all the ones back there. However, unless you're actually consuming all of it with these motors, because these motors consume, and this is the problem, these motors consume as much as they need to meet the current consumption. And so while these motors in theory can consume enough to use all the fuel, because I put in that second nuclear plant, because I was hitting the limits, now these guys are not working as hard as they used to because the nuclear plant is taking priority. So I need to dump that waste oil somewhere else, which is where this comes into play. It's a decent place to put a split. I'll do that. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting a junction and I'm bridging this to this system. So all this excess oil could go into this refinery system over here, which I think I've got a bit of a goof going on here. Yeah, I might have a bit of a goof going on here. We'll see. Yeah, I should actually speed this up. So the better way of doing it is to actually break that off. Undo what I just did. I'm gonna build a couple more refineries. 5 of them was the ideal number. So the problem is if these guys are running full speed, then this sink can't keep up. So I'm gonna go ahead and destroy that. I'm gonna try and squeeze the sink facing this way. Merger. I think these are 3? 2. Really 2. Huh. Oh yeah, that's right, they're not boosted. And this can go back. Alright. And then I'll build a second sink here. And I'll build a couple of refineries following these guys. Yeah, because this is going to come here and connect to that line over there. So I need to try and line this up. I don't need to be perfect. It's okay if the production output wraps around. It'll probably wrap around. Ooh, that might be tight. We'll see. Oh, I can't afford it. I'm missing a motor. Alright, 2 is good enough for now. We'll do power. We'll upgrade this pole. Petroleum choke. So petroleum choke is the way I go about basically scrapping this stuff. It's effective. It works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is why building the floors is really handy, by the way. 7 segments. And then usually it's 2 segments if you want to have a nice clean 90 degrees, which this is not quite 7, or 2 segments rather. And because I'm building it in line, it's always going to be kind of sketchy to do that. Alright, so the advantage here is now I can use those over there plus these 2 new ones that I built. So the idea is in theory, any I don't need to be that precise at all. But I like having it look kind of neat. So in theory, fuel gets used when it can, and now by joining these 2 rubber production lines together, in theory I can also take advantage of these buildings to produce more waste. Let's see, can I get this to work? I want to do this. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's always 2 units if you want to do 90 degrees. I want to stick it this way. Because I could fit a 3rd building here. So I'm kind of sticking it intentionally. Do mergers. I can do in the middle here. It is nice that they auto-snap stuff, except that one I wasn't paying attention. Auto-snap to the building. Oops. That. So there might be one here. So just want to keep that in mind. That should be lined up. It won't be lined up. I'll correct it on this side. Wait. Okay. So if you care a lot about aesthetics, which I kind of try, but again, I didn't quite learn my lesson here. I tried to give a lot of space. Like actually this one's here worked out really good. I have a lot of space, a lot of room to work with. Some of the other ones though, whew, didn't think it out too well. What the heck? Just give these a bit of extra emptying speed. Doesn't need to be that fast, but that's fine. I was going to say, in theory, these should be working heavier than they used to, and they are. So I might not have enough to completely clear out. Oh no, I'm doing good now, I think. Yeah, they've all emptied out. Fantastic. So you can see here how some of these are kind of crooked from just eyeballing it real quick, but you know, when you're building a lot of buildings in a row, that's what it is. So yeah, the fluid stuff, there's valves you can build, so in theory I could limit how much waste oil from all of these enters the system for the other one, or I can limit it in such a way that I can guarantee to a certain extent enough will make it to the fuel. Right, so if I know I've got 600 cubic meters an hour, I can say, well, only 500 can go to becoming choke to get recycled, and then 100 is guaranteed to go here, but that's ultimately the issue you run into. I like turning it into fuel. I suppose I could package it, but then that requires plastic to package, so that will require more of these buildings to pack. Well, once you've got all your packages done, I think you can unpackage and you keep the plastic container. It just becomes an empty one. I don't think you have to continually rebuild more. I have to look into that. You can see our rubber production is now probably where it should be at? Question mark? I could always borrow some from... Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. It's where it should be at. Which means that seems good. Do we have them backing up yet? Oh yeah, we have some backing up. Look at that. So that's the only downside, is when stuff like that happens. With the way I build these production lines, is this last building, it'll take a while. You know, the last building will produce, but it's not going to be fed, right? Because this is splitting. Half is going here, and then half is going here, and then half is going here. You know, each of these buildings are getting half. Are they all 2.5? Oh, they're all 2.5. One of the things I was going to say is, in some cases I have some of these buildings that run slower or faster, so you always put the quicker one at the beginning of your stack if you do it this way. It is what it is. You could potentially do it a bit more fairly with different ways. Like if I wanted to try and get this, well, yeah, I suppose there isn't really an easy way to get it super fair until this one fills up. Right, once this starts backing up, then this one will start filling up more, and it'll back up, and eventually to balance itself out. A little bit like there you go, we're back to aluminum. As I say, I'm gonna be stuck with the alclad sheet being a problem still. Yeah, none of these are bad yet. But yeah, basically that's what usually happens. The first one starts backing up once it's full. This one's gonna start doing it. There you go. I can force it to happen. No, maybe not. It'll happen eventually. Could also help it along and just yoink, run it down the line. Actually, I can go and get some from my yeah, I'll do that. I'll go get some from my containers. I'll get a couple radio control units while I'm at it. Just check these dogs real quick. Unfortunately, a lot of the resources can be helpful sometimes. If you are in a bit of a pinch, especially early game, some of these resources can be handy, because yeah, I don't know. Like in terms of strategy, I suppose we're getting close to an hour, which is kind of how long I was planning on making this. You don't actually need, like, you can take the brunt. You have enough HP. And these guys give you heal items occasionally. Like the mushrooms is a heal item. The berries are a heal item, and the nuts are the lowest tier, which is why I'm always running off the nut, because I'd rather use those first when I still have them. Though it's not much of an issue. Actually, the berries on this end of the map are not too difficult. The bacon, the bacon mushroom, those are a little tougher to get your hands on sometimes, and some of the researches need them. So basically, these guys can get you resources that might be a little tough to get early game. You can use the truck. It is on the other end of this arrangement. Two things I want to grab. Not that it's gonna make a huge difference because I'll be I'll be limited. I'll be limited by the amount of aluminum coming in. I don't have enough aluminum coming in to be able to feed that, but that's okay. You know, I still made that production line kind of work. That would be my final fix, but with the upcoming changes, I don't think I'll necessarily put in the effort to actually go out there and do that fix, because ultimately I'd rather put in the time once I know the changes come in, kind of thing. You know, I'd rather put in the time than to try and do it now. So that's what I'm doing here, though. I'm just pre-feeding all of those buildings. That is a nice thing you can do. I've definitely taken advantage of that before. You know, just pre-feeding all these buildings to get the bunch up to happen, to kind of more quickly know if I do have a production issue somewhere, or if I'm lacking a certain resource or whatever. You very quickly see everything adjust. So like rubber seems okay. It's a little margin. Actually, rubber is a bit low. Because remember, I maxed this one out previously, and now it's low. And this one, yeah, this one's dipping a bit low too. Rubber is marginal. But anyways, like I said, I'm just doing it for points. Not like this is actually critical at this point. Do I have enough points to buy some? Oh yeah, I do. Let's go get these coupons. Merge them up with those coupons, and I can buy the golden statue. And I think that'll wrap it up there. So you know, that's kind of Satisfactory in a nutshell, at least for now. If I remember correctly, it's like this, right? Yes. Hey, I got the three statues. Message to. Anyways, this is like the next tier of statues. I guess I could buy the coffee cup. That's like the only actual item that I don't own. Because beyond that, all of these are kind of, yeah, all of these are unlocked. So yeah, there's some cool like actual buildings and stuff that's handy to have. And you'll find yourself using the runoff eventually. Needing to like just destroy stuff. There, I legitimately did not have the coffee cup. Now I can run around with that if I wanted. Let's put the rest of the coupons back in. Actually, I don't intend to use it, so we'll put that in storage. And yeah, I should build ammo. it's a fun game. I genuinely have had a lot of fun. 200 hours. There's some slight hostile stuff here and there. Like, it's not a pure sandbox, but like once you've killed the odd enemies here and there, like, they don't respawn or anything, so there's not a huge amount of danger. There's just a little bit of combat here and there. Radiation obviously is a little dangerous. Oh, and these guys, as you get close to them, well, they're standing up, so they're probably going to put out a plume of poison. Oh no, they're resetting. Anyways, they're built high enough that the poison doesn't affect me. But there's that as well. There's poison, but it's a fun game. There's a tons of like collectibles, which is what this thing is for. So like if I'm looking for crash sites, well actually there's a crash site like right here. Whoops. Oh, oh yeah, we can still see it. I didn't cover it up yet. So these crash sites is how you get alternative recipes for various things. I've already opened that one, so. But there's like 80 plus things like that scattered around the map. They all have different requirements. So there's tons of alternative recipes I can still build. Some of them are pretty handy. If I give you a very quick tour, just to wrap this up, seeing as we just hit an hour. So for what it's worth, this manufacturer that's building the turbo motors, it is an alternate recipe that I'm actually using. So slightly different part requirements. But out of the parts, the radio control unit is the one that has a problem. Sort of a problem. And the radio control unit is literally everything except like all these rows here. There's that row, this row, and one of the rows on the other side. Everything else is in service of the radio control unit. So, oh, and these clusters are making the bars. So that one is copper, that one's iron. No, that one is quartz. Is it quartz? No, cadmium. And that one's iron, cadmium. I think that's how you say it. Copper. So for instance, I need to make a rotors, right? So we have copper coming down onto the feed bar. We have some coming down here, turning it into wire. So we have a bunch of wire. And oh, right. I actually have two feed lines. So cadmium and returning steel, and then we're making quick wire stators. Whereas this production line here is using normal stators. So one of the stator lines is to make the motors, whereas the other one is to actually feed, because the alternate recipe takes both motors and stators. So you can see the one line is going away, the other line is coming in here. So I've got screws and sheets to make alternative rotors, and even the screws are made with an alternative recipe of steel beams. So basically, copper's here, steel is being produced, split here for these two guys. These copper lines are coming up and around as well. I'm sure this is motion sickness inducing, but making the rotors. So some of the rotors and the stators are coming together to make motors. Hey! And then the other little bit of production here is all these quick wire and a big line of copper as well, copper sheets, all coming together in a couple buildings here to make the AI limiters. So there's 3 of your items, and then, well, as we wait here, yeah, anything left of here, all that stuff is all in service of making computers. Computers have a complex assembly line as well of multiple items. Crystal oscillators have a complex assembly of multiple items. And then rubber, well, because of the quantity of rubber and the byproduct of rubber production, there's a lot there as well. And then aluminum is the only thing I'm not producing for this entire separate production line compared to my items over there. I'm borrowing the aluminum from that line, and that's why I'm limited. I'll have to get more aluminum, which, yeah, I could do that. Or I could just play some other stuff. Which is probably what I'll do. You know, I'm happy I've achieved what I've been wanting to do. I was not intending to actually achieve it at this speed. I actually did the same thing over there. Way over there. But at 100% with the normal recipe. And over there is actually lacking a bit of rubber. So I kind of have some excess rubber over here. I could probably send back, but then aluminum is still a problem for both lines, so... Oh, one of these bad boys has nuclear waste. Alright. Gonna wrap this up here in just a few seconds. Just gonna do my last round. So as I'm... there you go. Finally getting some slugs again. The slugs, you can find them in the wild. I do have to go and find some. But... Whew. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next update. You know, it'll be the break that I need from this game. As fun as it is, I do want to progress in other stuff. It is very addictive to play, because it is not just that fun, relaxing game where there's so much to do. You know, you always want to optimize and tweak and improve and so on, and next thing you know, man, if I was really smart, I'd actually put a programmable splitter to feed the smart splitter here. I should probably do that. And that's that's what happens. Yeah, I guess just quick overview. I put grass, wood, or leaves, wood, and the flowers here. I've got 2 smart splitters. So you can't stack multiple things. There's programmable splitters that let you stack multiple. Smart don't let you do that. And then flower petals are turned into color cartridges, which go up here. Whereas wood and leaves are turned into biomass. Both biomass come in here to be turned into solid fuel, which we store here because we turn it into biofuel. We make plastic containers there, and canisters plus biofuel is packaged biofuel. So that's why we have storage there, because we have storage here that's full. So that biofuel, I can use it for vehicles. As you can see, I've got different kinds of fuel here ready to go. I can also use that fuel in certain buildings as well. So that's what I was talking about earlier on, that I can make maybe a production line for some of the stuff that I would use, like ammunition for the gun, but I don't have to explore very much anymore, and the areas I do have to occasionally explore, I've gotten rid of the enemies, so it's not really a lot of hostile forces out there anymore, at least in the areas that I would be frequenting. So yeah, this is a fun game. I do recommend it if you want something maybe less open-ended. They did talk about when it'll fully release, there will be kind of a story/campaign element to this eventually, but that's kind of once everything's built sort of idea, so that might interest some of you folks out there. At least for me personally, that's not where I find the fun in this game, but I would definitely play through it and see what they do with that. I'd be interested. Yeah, like I said, I've put in 200 hours so far. This specific save game is 140, I think. Must be close to 140. 135. So it's a lot of time, but it's been enjoyable. So many things I can improve, but at this point, I've said it before, I'll wait till the major update comes out, and then I'll have some fun with that. Because some of this will get torn down and redone and improved, which totally cool by me. So with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It's a great game. And I'll see you guys next time.